Plus for genuine information.
Namaste. Welcome on Info Plus Himalayan Television. This is completely a new episode presenting you from New Delhi. As you know, Info Plus is Nepal's first and only one TV show running for 20 years, which is based on overseas education, career, lifestyle and international relations. I'm presenting you an exclusive interview series with ambassadors, high commissioners from different countries. Today, I'm going to have an exclusive interview with His Excellency Reuben Gauci, High Commissioner of Malta. No need today, Malta is small but very beautiful country. Tourism is most fascinating sector in Malta. Likewise, Nepal has enormous potential in tourism sector, and maybe we can learn a lot from the experiences of Malta. Nepal is situated in most strategic locations like India and China. However, Malta doesn't have embassy here in Nepal. There are no such high-level visits from both of the countries, despite of having bilateral relations since more than 40 years. In this outset, I will try to bring the issue on the floor for discussion. Please allow me to welcome His Excellency Reuben Gauci, High Commissioner of Malta, on our show Info Plus on Himalayan Television. His Excellency Reuben Gauci was born on 28 May 1976 in Talpeta, Malta. He joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2007 following a national examination to enter the diplomatic service. He is the current High Commissioner of Republic of Malta to India as from September 2020. Resident in New Delhi, he presented credentials to the President of India, His Excellency Ramnath Kovind, on 14th October 2020. He is also accredited as Malta's High Commissioner to the Maldives, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, and Malta's Ambassador to Nepal.
Info Plus for genuine information.
Your Excellency, Namaste and Merhaba. Welcome to Info Plus Himalayan Television in New Delhi.
Much.
Your Excellency, can you share about your journey and your experience that led you to the current role as an High Commissioner? And what has been the most rewarding and memorable experience during your tenure as an High Commissioner to Nepal?
So to Nepal, I'm actually ambassador because Nepal is not in Commonwealth. Whilst the other countries, like India, I serve in India. India is a Commonwealth country, so I am High Commissioner here in India. I am High Commissioner to Bangladesh. I am High Commissioner to Sri Lanka. I am High Commissioner to the Maldives, and I am ambassador to your very beautiful nation, Nepal. I am actually very much in love with your country. I arrived in India on the 13th of September 2020. I presented credentials here in India in October 2020, and because of COVID at the time, it took a year for me to be able to travel to Nepal to present credentials. But eventually I did, and I presented credentials on the 22nd of October 2021. It was my first visit to Nepal. I come from an island, so Nepal is the exact opposite of where I come from. My country is surrounded by sea. In the case of Nepal, it's surrounded by land. My country does not have mountains. In the case of Nepal, you are a mountain nation. So obviously, for me as a Maltese, it's very, very interesting to travel to Nepal. In fact, I've been to Nepal since then twice. So when I presented credentials in October 21, and then I traveled to Nepal again in October 22. Okay. So as you can calculate, I've been in India for 4 years. I have another year coming, and I'm definitely looking forward to visit Nepal again.
During 41 years of diplomatic relationship, Malta and Nepal shares a very good and friendly bond, I believe. How have both countries have maintained the bilateral relationship so far, Your Excellency?
Right. So as you rightly pointed out, we have 41 years of diplomatic relations. We established our diplomatic relations on the 25th of September 1983. I was a small boy at the time.
Okay.
So obviously there is the question of the distance. So unfortunately at the moment we still do not have any particular agreements signed between Malta and Nepal. There are a number of possible agreements which are being studied by both sides, but till now we do not have agreements. But in the 41 years of diplomatic relations with Nepal, it's for us, we are a very friendly nation. And we feel that Nepal is exactly the same, a very friendly nation. You could see it when you deal with officials. You could see it when you deal with people. Maltese people are very hospitable. Nepalese people are very hospitable. So it's the bond of relations is not simply a diplomatic one, but also a people-to-people's one. And why am I mentioning people? Because recently, in the past 2 to 3 years, a lot of Nepalese nationals have traveled to Malta to work. So at the moment, the Nepalese community in Malta is one of the largest diasporas in my country. Now, just for you to get an idea, Malta is a 500,000 population. It's like Maldives. We have around 8,000 Nepalese citizens living and working in Malta.
Okay.
So you can compare 500,000 to 8,000, which means that now Nepal has really arrived in Malta. Unfortunately, we do not have a lot of Maltese traveling to Nepal, albeit there are. And usually they're the ones who go hiking in the mountains, those who love love being in the mountains. In fact, I remember during COVID, there was a particular Maltese medical doctor who was hiking in Nepal when COVID struck, and then I was assisting him to leave. And I remember the last thing he told me, I don't want to leave my lovely Nepal.
Okay.
At the moment, out of our diplomatic relations, the thing which we harvested most was the very recent Nepalese community working in Malta, mainly in security, in tourism, hospitality, and nursing, and other jobs as well. And I mean, given that in the last 5 years, the Nepalese community has become, if I'm not mistaken, the third largest community as a country. I mean, Nepalese in Malta. It's quite something. So now everybody in Malta knows where Nepal is.
Okay.
Everybody knows because they see the Nepali people, and they also can get the information from the internet. So I think that in the future we may be seeing more Maltese nationals visiting Nepal. Unfortunately, you probably know that EU airlines do not at the moment land in Nepal. So usually, if I'm not mistaken, to arrive to Nepal from Malta, you will probably travel through either Turkish Airlines or through Emirates. But in any case, I believe that even with this current connectivity, hopefully we will be having more Maltese visiting in the future.
Nepal and Malta has a very good bond, isn't it? And thank you so much for your love towards Nepal. And do you have any plans to establish an office in Nepal itself?
Well,
because
you mean an embassy?
Yeah,
you mean an embassy? Yes.
Since we have completed a very
long time.
And
you're right.
I think there should be an embassy in Nepal itself, isn't it?
Well, that would be a great thing.
Yeah.
That would be a great thing. Not unfortunately. I mean, Malta is a very small country, so our diplomatic, network. We have around 30 to 35 missions if we count embassies and carrier consulates, which for a country like us is quite something. I mean, the number of embassies, Maltese embassies, have doubled at least in the last decade. So up until recently, we didn't have an embassy in Japan. Now we have an embassy in Japan. We didn't have an embassy in Brazil. Now we have an embassy in Brazil. We didn't have an embassy in High Commission in Ghana. Now we do. Same, an embassy in Ethiopia. Now we do. An embassy in Turkey, in Ankara. Now we do. So we have opened a lot of embassies in the very, very recent future. So obviously, it's at the moment, I have to admit that there are no particular plans to open an embassy in Nepal. But God willing, in the future, one never says never, and I'm not saying never. I mean, hopefully in the future, we will consider that.
Since Malta and Nepal shares a very cooperative and friendly bond together, how do you think Nepal and Malta promote the tourism, particularly in terms of sector like education?
So education, yes, Malta is very well known for educational tourism.
Because most of the people, they even go for the work.
Yes. Most of the people most Nepalese who went to Malta in the last, 5-6 years were for work purposes. The Maltese economy has been increasing, so more and more workers were in demand. I remember after COVID, we had a lot of Maltese businesses calling us, writing us emails, asking about their workers, who were mainly from India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Now we are more sort of in a position where we can advertise Malta as a tourist destination for Nepalese nationals. And on the other hand, as you know, you have an embassy in London, which can advertise Nepal as a tourism destination for the Maltese. I know that recently Nepal has established an honorary consulate in Malta. We also have an honorary consulate in Kathmandu. So obviously the consulates, the honorary ones, can advertise the country. So hopefully your honorary consul in Malta will advertise Nepal more, and we will start seeing more Maltese coming to Nepal. As I say, it's a very interesting destination for Maltese because Nepal provides exactly what Malta does not have: mountains.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place for the trekking and the hiking.
Exactly. So Malta, you can find sea.
Yeah.
Beautiful sea.
Yes.
Surrounding us. So if you're living in Malta, you're never lacking in seeing the sea, in enjoying the sea, if you want to swim, if you want to whatever. We lack the mountains. And what better place than Nepal, which hosts, for instance, the largest and most famous mountain on earth, Mount Everest. So if you want to see the mountains, what can I say? Come to Nepal.
So for Nepali people, how easy is it for the visa applications, you know?
Well, as I said in the
to work and work and study?
Yes.
How is the visa rate?
Yes. Well, obviously we are part of the Schengen acquis.
Okay.
Which makes our visa procedure quite a lengthy one.
Oh, it's okay.
I mean, it's a Schengen. I'm sure you've heard.
Yeah.
Malta is the smallest member of the European Union, and we are members of the Schengen zone.
Okay.
So the visas which we issue actually can apply also for the other Schengen member states. Now, as I said, my second visit to Nepal in October 2022 was to reopen the visa application center in Kathmandu.
Okay.
So now, Nepalese citizens can anytime get an appointment online to go and submit their application at the visa application center in Kathmandu. This has been going on since October 2022. Before that, first there was COVID and then they had to come to Delhi. But now, as I said, we have a visa application center accredited to us in Kathmandu. The applications with the passports will come to us here in Delhi. We process them and then we send the passport and our reply back to Kathmandu. So obviously it takes some time.
It sounds to be quite lengthy, isn't it?
It does. Yeah. Malta is a study destination. And the same, Nepalese students can apply after taking an appointment at the visa application center. Their visa will be processed, and the reply will come. So yes, it will take some time. The usual, I would say, if you count, because the passports and the documents have to come to Delhi, then go back to Kathmandu. So you even have to take that into consideration.
What's your priority and goals for the future of Malta to Nepal relations during your tenure as a High Commissioner?
Well, it's, I understand the situation that, both our countries are a bit far from each other. Obviously, both of us were not very large countries, so obviously we have other priorities sometimes. Like for instance, I've even noted in what you sent me, like Nepal is between two large countries, right? India and China. In the case of Malta, we're between two large continents, Europe in the north and North Africa and the rest of Africa in the south. So in that sense, we share the situation where we have to understand that our neighborhood sometimes becomes our first priority. So I know that Nepal, for instance, focuses a lot on India in the south and on China in the north. In the case of Malta, it's the same. We focus a lot on Europe in the north. Also, we're today part of members of the European Union since 2004. And we focus a lot on the North African subcontinent, and then the whole African continent. For us, these are, you know, like for instance, the Maltese Prime Minister has just been to Libya recently. So I would, unfortunately, till now, I have to admit that there haven't been high-level visits as well, both in Nepal from, you know, Maltese ministers and prime ministers, and the same, you know, Nepalese in Malta. So if you had to tell me what are your targets, I think having a high-level visit, it may not happen during my time, but I think both countries, Malta and Nepal.
But the high-level visits is
Yes, like minister, for instance.
For both the countries.
Yes, I think that's very important, because high-level visits usually then set the ball rolling.
Exactly.
And if there are certain agreements which are, you know, being discussed, they can be, you know, pushed forward. And so with a high-level visit, usually you get an agreement or you get a memorandum of understanding.
Yes.
So I think we should be focusing on having a high-level visit, either from a Maltese dignitary, you know, minister, Speaker of the House, Prime Minister, to Nepal, or the other way.
Oh, okay. So the plan is still going on, isn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, it's always a possibility, and I think we should. That's where we should focus more.
How can individuals in both countries contribute to strengthen the ties between Malta and Nepal?
Well, as I said, I mean, the diaspora, the Nepalese diaspora in Malta today is one of the largest.
Okay.
So obviously that already creates the need for more relations. It creates the need for possible agreements. Obviously, a good thing is that the Nepalese community is loved in Malta.
Oh,
it's known as being law-abiding. It's known as being hardworking. So obviously when the Maltese people see this, it's automatic that they would feel a greater bond with Nepal.
As you mentioned earlier, that Malta and Nepal we shared a very low bonds in terms of import and export.
Yes, that's right.
So do you have any plans to promote that? Do you have any plans to collaborate with Nepal on this regard?
I am cautiously optimistic for the future. I'm not expecting the trade levels to increase, you know, twofold, threefold overnight, but I am sure they will increase. But if we had to go not long, like 10 years ago, nobody would have thought that the Nepalese community will become one of the largest diasporas in Malta. You wouldn't have thought so 10 years ago.
Okay.
Now it happened. It's there.
Yes.
So, you know, one can really be optimistic that even like the trade flows will increase. And hopefully we will have high-level visits, either in Malta or in Nepal, and also move on with certain agreements or memoranda of understanding.
Malta is connected with European Union, and as I can
we are
also,
members.
Yeah, we are members, and I can also see a beautiful flag behind you.
Yeah.
Malta and European Union flag. It looks beautiful. And since it seems like you have a very strong bridge, isn't it? Because European Union is with you, with Malta, and as you've been and
we have you know, culture from both.
Yes, and as you've been an High Commissioner to Nepal,
Yes.
do you have any plan to collaborate with the European Union and do betterment for the country Nepal in coming
of course,
days?
no, definitely. I mean, you know, since I presented credentials in October 21, you know, I visited the EU delegation. When I came back to Nepal in October 22, I also visited, if I remember well, the delegation. The ambassador sometimes and members of the Nepal delegation visit us here in Delhi, because as you know, there are a lot of EU countries, Malta included, which cover Nepal from Delhi.
Okay.
So every now and then, the ambassador of the European Union in Nepal actually physically visits us here in Delhi to update us about what's happening, because a lot of European Union embassies, country embassies, are here in Delhi. We also have a good connection sometimes, online meetings and online briefings. So for sure, we cooperate a lot with the EU delegation in Nepal, both as Malta and even all my other colleagues serving here in Delhi, because we believe in the potential that Nepal has and can have in the future.
Malta has done a remarkable job to make this country a better place in substantial progress. What do you think Nepal should learn from Malta on this regard?
Well, you know what I mean. It's difficult to say what you should learn from us, in the sense that, each country has its own situations. Each country has its own pluses and its own minuses. So I do not presume to say what Nepal should learn from Malta. I mean, our situation is different. There are similarities as well, but our situations are different. Yes. So to be honest, I do not presume to say, listen, Nepal should learn this or Nepal should learn that. The good news is that both of us are peace-loving nations. Both of us focus on the enlargement of the economy. Both of us focus particularly on tourism. And tourism is definitely an economic activity which cannot happen during wars or during conflicts. So the fact that we love tourism, we're definitely in love with being proactive in peace.
Malta has a less population, nearly 500,000. There is good universities and knowledge sharing institution in Malta. Are there possibilities to exchange educational opportunities available in Malta, as large number of Nepali people have been going abroad for their further studies, and their special priorities are Australia, USA,
well,
UK?
Obviously, I mean, given...
How can we attract towards Malta?
Given the size of Malta, we have to take care as well of our infrastructure. I mean, we cannot take for... an endless, like Australia's, much larger than Malta. So Australia can technically, handle almost all Nepali students. In the case of Malta, that's not even physically possible. So as I was saying, in Malta we have a lot of English language schools.
Okay.
We have our own university.
Okay.
And there is also a private university, an American university. And there are a lot of private institutions, private schools, which, as I said, either teach English, or else there are other institutions which offer MBA courses, nursing courses, computing courses, etc., etc. These are private institutions, so they are, money-making businesses, basically.
How affordable is it for the Nepali students as compared to other countries?
Well, that's a good question, a really good question, because we like to promote Malta as being cheaper, say, than the UK, cheaper than the US, cheaper than mainland Europe. And the good thing about Malta is that instruction happens in English. So, because we're a Commonwealth country, we're part of the British Empire, and English to date, actually English is an official language in Malta. We have two official languages. We have our own Maltese language, and we have English. And even at university, for instance, instruction is in English. In these private institutions, they know full well that obviously it has to be in English, I mean, if they want to make money. So Malta is a good destination in the sense that it's more affordable than other English-speaking countries for Nepalese students or for any other students, Indian, whatever. So it's a cheaper destination which provides you with the same excellence that another English-speaking country like Australia, like UK, like US will provide you with.
Malta has a good turnout of tourism, and Nepal is also known for its tourism since it's a beautiful country, isn't it? So, however, we have less number of tourists as compared to Malta. What's the suggestions to Nepal where best practices can be shared? Because Malta has a very good number of tourists as compared to Nepal.
Yes,
So what we should learn from Malta on this regard?
I mean, it's more a number of times. I mean, every year,
yes,
we receive a much larger amount of tourists than our population in Malta. We are, in a sense, we are reaching a saturation point. And now we are actually questioning whether Malta can take more tourists than we already have visiting us because of the size, because of the infrastructure, etc., etc. I believe that by promoting Nepal well, like we did with Malta, and now we're facing, almost a saturation point in our economic tourism industry. I'm sure that more people from around the world will continue visiting. And also, for instance, Nepal is a relatively cheap country, so people may be even attracted to that. It's not very expensive. As I said, people are very hospitable, etc., etc. So that's another thing which you can use in Nepal. You also have more, human resources.
yes,
Since you're actually exporting human resources to places like Malta. So obviously, but by investing in Nepalese human resources, so that they don't necessarily have to leave their country to work in other places, due to the fact that you have more tourism coming to Nepal. So, and this comes by investing in one's own human resources. We did that in the past in Malta, we still do.
So, Your Excellency, are there any future plans for the development cooperations between Malta and Nepal in coming days?
We still have much to explore. We still have much to do. Having said this, Malta has very good economic relations with both India and China. And so obviously having Nepal in the middle, we can actually start thinking of, making more inroads into developmental projects between both our countries.
Is there any message you would like to convey to the people of Nepal and Malta to make their relationship more better in coming days?
To the people of Nepal, I would like to say, stay as you are. You're such a beautiful people, peace-loving, sometimes simple in the nice way. Hospitable, and in that sense I would like to say to the Nepali people, stay as you are, because you are perfect as you are. Obviously the same applies to the Maltese nationals as well, and I'm sure, as I said, that we can find bonds of intermingling and cooperation between us, both as peoples. And obviously, finally, it's all about people, because if it's business, it's people. If it's diplomacy, it's people. If it's cooperation at the UN, it's people. Finally, it's all people. So I would really wish all the best. This is my message to the Nepalese people, to stay as nice, as intelligent, as hardworking, as pure, and as beautiful as they are.
Thank you so much for your time and insight at the Embassy of Malta here in New Delhi. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
Info Plus, for genuine information.
I hope you liked the interview with His Excellency Reuben Gauci, High Commissioner of Malta. I tried to cover the wider aspects of bilateral relationship between Malta and Nepal. I'm thankful to High Commissioner for his valuable time and accepting our request to speak to Nepalese viewers. Please don't hesitate to give feedback to us about today's interview. We will bring another exclusive interview in next episode of Info Plus only on Himalayan Television. Keep watching. Namaste.
Info Plus, for genuine information.